India is set to overtake China to become the most populous country in the world by the middle of this year. That's according to data released by the United Nations. Now, the new estimate is 1.4 billion and 286 million people. We get more on this now, on this milestone, from the CBC's Salima Shivji in Mumbai.
Well, it's a milestone that was entirely expected and has been a long time coming. It was supposed to happen around this time this year. And even though the data is not entirely solid, since India hasn't released a census in more than a decade, this is a major milestone, a pretty big deal, and a major global shift. And it means that India is now considered to be the most populous nation in the world, surpassing China by nearly 3 million people more than China. China, a country that had that top position of the most populous country in the world and held on to that position for more than 2 centuries. So quite a big deal, a major milestone for India, but one that also has major consequences for India, of course, being now the world's 5th largest economy, and India has ambitions to move higher up that list in terms of economic growth. Having a large population sometimes aids with economic growth, but also can hinder that as well, since the vast majority of people who have larger families, of course, in this country are not as educated, and young women who leave school. I was speaking with a population expert telling me about this data, and she says that, of course, the best way to slow population growth and steady population growth is to provide girls with higher education and to invest in education for girls. The best contraceptive, she says. Take a listen to what more she has to say.
Not going beyond primary education means early marriage. So 1/4 of Indian girls get married before the legal age of 18, and there is pressure on them to produce babies as soon as they get married to prove their fertility. And it's babies having babies.
There are several states in the north, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, that are lesser developed, and they are the ones that are driving the high birth rates in this country. In the south, there are the more developed countries, the more educated, states rather, the more developed and educated states that have, a fertility rate that's declining, rates that are similar to the United States or Sweden. Normal families have about 1.8 children in the south. Compare that to about 3 in Bihar in the north. So there's a divided country here, and those demographic challenges are pretty difficult to overcome because they lead to a political divide as well. Because, the more people you have in the north, the more, the larger constituencies, the more political power that you have, essentially creating more of a divide that is a political hurdle for a lot of the leaders of this country as well. A very different face of India when you look at each different state and the birth rates that they show.